Now, the next two restrictions we will lump together. That is, the things strangled and then from blood. Now, you might assume if any are ceremonial practices of this list, well, these two are the ones, right? These are just dietary issues. No, they're not just dietary issues. Genesis chapter 9, verse 3. Now, by the way, that is before Abraham. That is before the Mosaic Law. That is before all of that. Genesis 9, chapter 3. This is interesting for many reasons, but this is the point at which God gives permission after the flood to eat of the animals, right? But there's an interesting prohibition here. Let me read this. Genesis chapter 9, verse 3. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as I gave you the green herbs. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Did you note that? You are not to eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Now, is that a prohibition not to eat animals? Did he give them animals and then take them right back? No. There's something different there. You're not to eat them with its blood, in its blood. Verse 5, surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of man, and from the hand of every man's brother I will require it. We could get into that issue as well. That's a very important issue. But here's the point. The blood. This was before the Mosaic Law. This was God giving these instructions to those, Noah's family, who got off the ark for every generation from that point. Eat animals now, but not in the blood. Not with the blood. So we say, what does that mean? Okay, we'll get to that. But that was a prohibition that was given from God himself. What are these things strangled? Well, the Jews abhorred this practice. Leviticus chapter 17:13, Deuteronomy 12:16, Leviticus 17:10. I won't read those at the moment. But this was, for them, the Jews, this was a horrible practice, abhorred, strangulation. And what's the whole process here? Well, the strangulation of the animal, in a sense, preserved the lifeblood of the animal. And life was in the blood. And then they often drank the blood as part of the pagan practices. So you see how these are linked together. Strangulation, the blood, drinking of the blood. Don't do it. Now, what does that mean? It means you cannot go out with Pastor Luke and have a steak with a little red substance oozing from it. Or a lot, I don't know, but no, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is what's happening at the spiritual level. Somebody drinking blood, and by the way, I hope you see there's a big difference here between eating a steak with a little bit of red stuff in it and drinking a cup of blood. There's a big difference. Those who drank blood were automatically associated with pagan idolatry. So a Christian who said, I just want to drink a cup of blood. I can do it. I have Christian liberty. As soon as you do it, my friend, you are associating yourself with pagan idolatry. As soon as you do it. And those, look what we have here. If we're thinking about what's happening here. Those in the culture with them, they are the Jews that are not yet Christians, and then the Jewish Christians, right? Those that are now Christians, but they had their traditions in Judaism. They would have looked upon that and said, no, my friend, you cannot call yourself a Christian. Because the moment you drink of that blood, I'm calling you a pagan. And you see the close association. So, should we not consume blood? Again, I'm not going to legislate, right? I'm not going to be legalistic about your steaks. Neither of us pastors, none of us pastors are going to be legalistic about your steaks. You decide that before God. If we came over to your house and you offered us a cup of blood, that's a whole different story. Okay? We'll have something to say about that. Okay? The whole purpose here, again, is spiritual union. John chapter 6, verse 53. Again, we often read this in our time together at the Lord's Supper. Then Jesus said to them, most assuredly I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. See, that life is spiritual life. You have no spiritual life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, I live because of the Father, so he who feeds on me will live because of me. See, just as there was union, drink the blood of another animal, and we say biological union, the blood is mixing with the blood, spiritually speaking. Drink the blood of Christ, spiritually. The bread of Christ. There is spiritual union, and that's the point. What is happening at the spiritual level? So again, just so there's no questions coming at any of us pastors later, we are not legislating a certain type of steak for you. But this is something that we should consider and must consider.